On my own. Somebody was telling about a guy who was very heavy, and the doctor put him on a very unusual diet. He says, for 30 days, all I want you to do is eat coconuts and bananas. You hear that? Well, I said, did the guy lose weight? He says, well, actually, he didn't lose any weight, but you should see him climb a tree. And then there was another guy that also was overweight, and the doctor put him on a diet, and all he had was onions, garlic, and Limburger cheese. I says, well, did he lose weight? He says, well, no, but from where he stood, he looked thinner. And then there was a guy who was sitting on the porch with his wife of 54 years, and he says, and they're both old and sick and a little deaf, and he says, Martha, I'm proud of you. She says, what did you say? I said I'm proud of you. What? I said I'm proud of you. She said, yeah, and I'm sick of you too. Let's see. Oh, that's right, yeah. The guy went to his rabbi, and he says, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. My wife is trying to poison me. I'm sure she's trying to poison me. I don't know what to do. He says, well, let me hear what she has to say. A week goes by, and he says, Rabbi, did you talk to her? She's talked to me for 3 hours. He says, well, what's your advice? He says, take the poison. In fact, there was this guy's was about 75, and this older woman had a date with this guy, 75 years old. And I said, did you have a good time? He says, good time. I had to slap his face. You mean he got fresh? He says, no, I thought he was dead. And one guy, the judge says to the defendant, you know, you're here for drinking. He says, okay, judge, let's get started. And then somebody came into the bar, says, hey, that big German Shepherd dog outside, who owns that dog? The guy said, that's my dog, what about it? He says, I'm afraid my dog killed your dog. He says, what kind of dog you got? He says, got a Mexican Chihuahua. He says, well, how can I kill my dog? He said, it got stuck in his throat. And then the guy went to the cemetery and put some flowers in a grave, and 2 graves away a man's crying, why did you die? Why did you die? He says, your wife? He says, no, my wife's first husband. And then again, Paul Revere, I thought he was an anti-Semite. He was running around the country. The Yiddish are coming, the Yiddish are coming. The guy says, you made a mistake. He said, the British are coming. He says, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, then there was a guy, this guy was the head of a union. His name was Shane Ferguson. And he got up to make a speech to the union members, and he says, my fellow members of the union, it's a very nice thing to be here. It's wonderful, it's wonderful. And after he gets done, the guy says, excuse me, your name is Shane Ferguson? He says, yeah. He says, but you sound Jewish. He says, I am Jewish. He says, well, how did you get the name? He says, look, years ago when I came to Ellis Island, they asked me, what's your name? I said, Shane Ferguson. Then, of course, a guy was a duck hunter, and he was out trying to shoot a duck. And finally, after hours, finally he sees a flock of ducks, bang! And the duck comes down, but it falls over the fence in the farmer's yard. And as he climbs over the fence to pick up the duck, the farmer says, hey, that's my duck. He says, it's in my property. He says, yeah, but I just shot it. And they have an argument. He says, well, you say you want it, I say I want it. We'll have to settle things the way we do in this part of the country. He says, well, what do you do? He says, well, I kick you in the groin, you kick me in the groin, and the one that can't get up gets the duck. He says, well, if that's the way you do things, well, I'll go first. and he winds up and he kicks him in the groin. He says, "Oh!" And the guy rolls on the ground in 10, 15 minutes. Oh my God. He says, "All right, now it's my turn." He said, "Keep the duck." And then there was a guy who claimed from South America. He claimed he was 1,000 years old. So somebody talks to him. He says, "Excuse me, sir, but you claim you're 1,000?" He says, "Yes, that's right. I'm 1,000 years old." But wait a minute. It's not exactly right. Next Thursday is my birthday. Then I'll be 1,000 years old. He says, "Well, if you lived 1,000 years, you must have been married many times." He said, "Oh, sure, I was married a couple hundred times." He said, "You remember any of your wives?" He says, "Well, the third one, Shirley, a redhead, I remember her." He says, "And what about children?" "Oh, we had so many children, you would think somebody would call, 'Hello, Pop, how are you, Pop?' I don't hear from nobody." Well, anyway, 1,000-year-old man, "Hello, Pop." And then there's this guy. This guy was very proud of his work record. He lived in New York, and he went to Hoboken by ferry, and he was never late, never late. And all of a sudden one day he wakes up, "Oh my God, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late." And he runs and he goes, he takes the bus, and he gets all the way down there, and as he sees the ferry, it's about 8 feet from the, and he leaps, and he bang, right on the back. And the guy on the boat says, "What the hell did you do that for? We would have been in another minute." Take the ferry to Hoboken, drunks. Oh yeah, this guy. This is the last one. Anyway, there's a drunk. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's drunk, and he's taking a shortcut through a cemetery. And he doesn't see it's a very deep grave there. But it was sunlight, and he could. Well, anyway, he falls into this deep grave. And finally, a few hours go by. He can't get out. He reaches up. He's about a foot from the top, and he can't get out. He falls back asleep. Well, now it's dark, and the guy's also taking a shortcut, and it's pitch black. And as he walks, he falls in the same damn grave. And he tries to get out. And he's a foot from the top. He tries to get out, and he can't get out. And he hears a voice say, "You can't get out." He said, "You know, that guy got out."
Very good. Yeah. You did them all.
Oh, wait a minute. There's one I forgot. Oh, wait a minute. This is a little dirty. This is a little dirty.
No,
Can
leave
you
that
turn
one
that
off.
on?
No, leave it off. Leave it off. That was good.
Here. This is the last one. What?
Oh my God, he's looking.
Is he licking that water?
He's trying to find the damn
He's
steps.
got the steps. He's got the steps.
Can't you give him some? Throw one in there. That's what golden retrievers do.
I know. Oh, somebody's going to go in.
How do you like it? He really is a golden retriever. So where's the duck?
Now,
The guy stops at a farmhouse. He had some business with the farmer, and the farmer says he put him up for the night. And in the morning they had a farmer's breakfast. 6 o'clock in the morning they had a big breakfast. And the guy thanked the farmer for putting him up for the night. And he gets in his car and he goes down the road about a quarter of a mile. And all of a sudden he sees with cramps, "Oh my God, I got to go to bed." Anyway, he sees there's a big pumpkin patch there. So he takes out his penknife and he takes the biggest pumpkin and he uses that for a toilet. Well, he goes away. About 6 months later, he's back in the same area, stops at the same farmhouse. And the farmer says, "Oh, I remember you. Come on in." And he says, "Excuse me." He says, "But that patch down the road a bit, who owns that pumpkin patch?" He says, "That's mine." "Oh," she says, I feel terrible." He says, "Why?" He says, "When I left here that time, I felt I had cramps, and I went over to the biggest pumpkin with my knife, and I used it for a toilet." He says, "You did? Hold on a minute. Hello. Hi, this is Cy." There was shit in that apple pumpkin pie.
okay.